Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask the Wizard Almost Daily for October the 3rd. Topic for today. What is the topic? Oh, there we go. Blending masculine and feminine energy to create. That's kind of a fluffy description. I'm going to break it down into something that's really mechanical, simple, but very powerful. All right? Setting the 5-minute timer right now. Get comfortable, grab a pen and a coffee, and we'll see you in 5. Hello, everyone. Boy, it got dark all of a sudden, and I have no idea why, but that's okay. That's Oh, goodness. Facebook has changed things again. Every once in a while, this happens. Well, you guys have experienced it from your end. And in the broadcast end, it's even more. Every once in a while, it'll just change. And you don't know. There's no notice or anything like that. It just changes. And it looks like there's some cool new things, but I'm not sure whether you're seeing this or not, because the way I usually do the preview on it doesn't show up, but we'll just go with it and go from there. Oh, here, a neat story. Hold on. There's an eject button somewhere. Where is it? Here? There we go. There's a lot of you that have probably never seen this in person. Here you go. Cassette. This is called a cassette. It's got tape. And you rewound the cassette because the machine would pull the tape out every once in a while. So you'd stick a pen in here and that's how you rewound it. Anyway, so this one here, this cassette deck here, I got it from the farmhouse that Mom used to live in a little while ago. For a variety of reasons. One of the biggest ones is we have some audio diaries that we made when we were many years ago, when we were kids and younger. And so I wanted to convert them digitally. So I grabbed this. So I found in here this cassette, and it says a little bit of everything and then instrumentals on the back. Now, this has nothing to do with anything, but oh, look, I've got light. You know what it is? It's the sun is going behind a cloud. That's probably what it is. Anyway. So my father made this. Our father made this. Sean and made this and wrote this on here. It had to have been 20 years ago. And our mother, who is in the hospital right now, we took it down to play it for her. Not that she could hear it, but I was curious what was on it. But anyway, so then I go to put it back. See? And here, there's something satisfying about that mechanical feeling of closing the door. Anyway, how are y'all doing? Ask the Wizard, streaming live almost daily for October the 3rd. How's your week been, or weekend, or whatever? It hasn't been dull for us, I can tell you that. It's our mother's 95th birthday today. For the last couple of days, we didn't think she was going to see it, but last time we checked, she's in the hospital. Last time we checked, which was this morning, she was still here. So she made it to her birthday. And she's probably going to be around, it looks like, for a while yet. Anyway. Dear. No. Let's see if my Mr. Oh, yeah, I tell you, it just thinks. Bet this is stalled. Isn't it interesting? Let's see. Hold on. Go to here and see if this is going to work for us. Mr. Flipchart is just not, I want Mr. Flipchart in here, but he seems to be just totally buggering up. Oh, goodness. I bet it may or may not work. We're just going to have to see what we're going to do here. This. What do we want to do? Share. Let's do this. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me. This is a tablet computer. I bought it in 2016. So, I mean, all things considered, it's doing pretty darn good. Oh, I wonder if oh, great. I bet there's a little battery in this pen, because it's not just a stylus, it's a pen. I bet you anything, the battery has just died. Well, screw it. We're going to freestyle again. Done with that. Mr. Flipchart is just not cooperating lately. Anyway, okay, so here we go. There you go. Live TV, as they say. Blending the masculine energy and the feminine energy. I'm just going to have to be very creative and descriptive in my narrative here. Blending the masculine energy and feminine energy to create. I'm going to pull up a memory of shop class. Now, this would have been, I'm thinking grade 8. Was raised in a little country school, and we all got on the bus and we traveled, I don't know how many, half an hour-ish or so to shop class, because we didn't have shop class in our school. And one of the things there was pottery. So when you make this pottery, imagine it's still essentially the same, you got a mold, a plaster mold. And what's kind of neat is the mold, you look at it, it's a square block or something like that. So you really can't see in some respects what's inside it. It's just there's a hollow inside, isn't there? There's a hole in the mold. So then what you do is you take liquid clay and you pour it into this plaster, right? And then you wait. Because what's happening is the plaster is drawing the moisture right out of this liquid clay and causing it to sort of thicken and adhere to the inside walls of this mold. And the longer you left the clay in, the thicker the mold got. But there was a point where it was thick enough, and then what you would do is you'd pour the clay out, right? And you still have what was left in the mold. You'd let it sit for a little while, and then you would kind of pop this mold, this plaster mold, off, and there is a vase or a cup or something like that. That is now this liquid clay is taken the shape of. And that's a really good example of how manifesting into your personal external experience works. Masculine energy. Now, just generally speaking, and these are really generic terms that are used all over the place, especially feminine energy lately for the last years. So I'm going to explain to you using those labels, but what I mean by those labels. So masculine energy tends to be thinking energy. Feminine energy tends to be feeling energy. Masculine energy relates to our thoughts, right? Feminine energy relates to sensations that we feel in our body. And for our purposes here, specifically, sensations that we feel in our body. So the sense of touch. So I'm not talking about sight. I'm not talking about hearing. I'm not talking about taste. I'm not talking about sound, right? Speaking. I'm talking about the sensations that we feel in our body. And this is one of the things that you hear over and over and over again from way back when I first started down this journey, was the feeling. So Wayne Dyer, one of his books, Wishes Fulfilled, I think it's called. And it was, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The feeling, the physical feeling of the wish fulfilled. Okay, here's my plaster mold and here's the clay. When you create a desire, you're creating it with masculine energy or thinking energy. You create. It's an idea. It's a construct in your mind. It's a visualization. It's a fantasy. It's imagination. It's all those words that we use that we create in our mind using masculine energy. That is like the plaster mold. We're creating what we would like to see within this plaster mold. And it's really important that whatever that hole is, right? The hole you've created inside this mold, that it's accurate, it's what you want it to be, all that kind of stuff. But in this case, using my example of a vase, you still don't have a vase. All you have is the mold. And this is often, people get really good at this part. They build some wonderful molds. Man, these molds are great. And they build the mold and they build the mold and they build the mold and they build the mold. And they build another one and another one and another one and another one. They get these molds all over the place. But that's all they are. They still don't have any vases. Vases? Don't know. Still don't have them. So then they decide, well, I need different, maybe it's a different plaster. So they do this, or maybe I need to work on this some more. And they do this and they build and build and build. But the thing of it is, the vase is not made from the plaster mold, right? Seeing whatever you desire manifest into your external experience, the material that creates that doesn't come from the masculine. I mean, you're already kind of jumping ahead on me, I know. It comes from the feminine, right? You need something to fill that mold. And this is where the feminine or the feeling energy comes from, which is why, and it's been said in 1,000 different ways, but the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that feeling, what will it feel like? Forget about emotions for our purposes here. Forget about whether I'll be happy or ecstatic or sad or whatever. The physical sensations in my body when I'm looking at the vase. Now, as you do that, what you're doing is you're pouring this clay, this liquid clay, because when you think about it, and I know for us it was like in a big ass bucket, I think. So you look at the bucket, it's just a bucket of slop, right? It's just liquid clay. It has no form. It's formless, right? It needs to be poured into something so it can take form. So when we have that feeling, and this is step 2, the manual's right over here, of the manifesting process, step 2 is feeling the desire on the inside. So the physical feeling of what it's going to be like to look at the vase and it's all painted and it's just going to look amazing and all that stuff. The physical feeling of the vase already in front of you looking at it. I remember Wayne Dyer, he talks about when he was writing a book, he would get a book cover made and he would put it on any book and he would set it in front of him. So he would look at that. And every time he's seen that, that was a completed book. He was just writing the stuff to fill it in, right? But the book was already there. He could see it. Same thing. So as you do that, guess what? You're pouring the clay into the mold. Now, this is why, and it's about balance, of course, right? Creating the mold is really valuable and that is accurate. And sometimes the mold changes. I get that for sure. But once that mold is in pretty good shape, then your work shifts to filling the mold. But if you just poured the clay in and then the liquid clay, right? And you poured it in and then you dumped it out, it wouldn't have had time to adhere to the walls of that mold. Which is why consistency on feeling that feeling is so valuable, because you need to pour the clay in there, like pour it all the way in and fill it up, and then keep it filled for a certain length of time. Right? I mean, you don't have to leave it in there until it becomes like a solid mass, because it wouldn't work. I mean, the vase, you couldn't put flowers in it and stuff. Which is why it's important to feel the feeling consistently. So it allows that clay to sit in there for a little while. Okay, got it. To sit in there for a little while. So it can start to, so the plaster can draw that moisture out, and then the clay starts to adhere to the walls of the mold. And then there comes that time, and believe me, this is a science as much as or an art as much as a science. I find there comes that time where, and this is what Neville Goddard talks about a lot, is assuming the feeling of the vase already here. And what he says is once that's done, once that is impressed on your subconscious is the word he uses, then you don't have to do anything else except not introduce contradictory desires, right? But for now, once that's done, like when you assume that it's already done, then you assume it's just done. It's just done. I don't have to visualize anymore. I don't have to feel anymore. I don't have to do any of this, except that it feels good when I do it. Because once you've kind of done that initial work of leaving that liquid clay in there, now just kind of let go so that the mold can be poured out, so that liquid clay can be used elsewhere. And now you've got it. Right now it's in there, it's thick enough, it's all good. And now you don't have to do anything because the two energies have now blended together, and now they're doing the work. You don't have to do anything. Just don't open the cast too soon, right? It just sits there. And the moisture is drawn out of the clay from the cast, and it gets more solid, more solid, more solid, more solid. And then in due course in time, you pop open the plaster cast, and there's the vase. But for so many of us, we skip the part, or we're not consistent with the feeling of the vase already here, of the embracing of the sensations of the desire already solid in front of us, putting flowers into it. And that's where the feminine energy comes in, because feminine energy is feeling energy. Now, this is something that's really interesting. What sensations should you feel? How do I know? Right? Now, I've said this before too. It doesn't really matter which route you take to get to Tim Hortons or Starbucks, pick your country. All that matters is you actually get there, right? But this is one of the things I've found, is how you feel when the vase is already there. Something really simple and easy to measure. Your body feels relaxed. There it is. That's a nice vase. Boy, that's a nice vase. The flowers look great. It's just a nice vase. As opposed to tension. You see, here's an interesting thing. When we get excited, what happens? Our body gets tense, right? And a kind of a handy indicator is when you're feeling tension in your body, you're restricting the feminine flow, which is the clay filling the thing, right? The mold. When you're relaxed, you're allowing the clay to pour into the mold. So what are the sensations that you're looking for? You're looking for my old hashtag, I want to feel good. And to break it down even simpler than that, you're looking for this. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. You're not, yeah, so much. You're, that's nice. That's a nice vase. Oh, yeah, that's a nice vase. Darn, nice vase. Your body is relaxed. Doesn't mean, you see, and here's the thing. Relaxed is different than the sensations that you feel. See, relaxed is kind of a state that your body is in. Tension, relaxation. When you're tense, you're not able to feel the sensations in your body as clearly as when you're relaxed. You actually feel more when you're relaxed. And so creating the mold is really valuable. It's really important. But in many respects, what's just as important, or even kind of more important, is allowing that clay to be poured in, that feminine energy to be poured in, and then nurturing it so it has the time to take shape, to take form. And you don't even have to necessarily know when to pour the clay out. That's a natural process that will happen. Your job is to just feel good. Not because I need to feel good to make it happen. Your job is, and you'll feel it. There'll be that point where it's like I'm feeling and I'm working and this. And then it's like this switch flips and it's, okay, it's done. Right? It's done. Right? I've saw in there long enough. It's done. And then you let go. So that clay that doesn't need to be in there anymore can now be released. And now you don't have to do anything. And through the course of time, you'll be able to pop that plaster cast open. And there's the vase. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Mr. Flip Chart, it would have been really nice, but hopefully I kind of did okay that way. That way too. Share. We're all in this together. See you on the web.